Hi, my name is Division Chief Jim Sedaris, and you are watching Fire Call, where we're going to take you again behind the scenes, hang with the crews of Sioux Falls Fire Rescue, and get lots of those questions answered. This show is going to be good because we hang out with the crew of Truck 3. We get those questions about ventilation. How do we ventilate? Why do we ventilate? How do we do forcible entry and get into homes? We also talk to them about a little bit about physical training, some PT. We're also going to meet with Don Hill, the fire chief, get some questions out of the way, and our favorite Division Chief, Patton Warren, is going to talk to us about trucks. Now, I do have some shout-outs. Now, if you answer, send in a shout-out, send in a question, you get a sassy Sioux Falls Fire Rescue t-shirt, and we'll send those out just kind of whenever we can. This first shout-out is from Brian. Brian wants a shout-out to the Lake Preston Fire Department in Lake Preston, South Dakota. This one's from Brandon. Brandon wants a shout-out to the Courtney Volunteer Fire Department in Yadkinville, North Carolina. And finally, this shout out is from Brent. Brent wants a shout out to the Gravel Hill Volunteer Fire Department in Alabama. So sit back, turn off all the electronic stuff except your TV or computer so you can watch Fire Call. Got some really good questions about what to do if you're trapped in a house fire, and then we're going to talk about how firefighters do searches. So I have with me Captain Bob Vosberg, running off engine 1 today, and we're at this house. We're doing some training, and I have some couple of questions for you. You ready?
I'm ready, Jim.
Okay, one is from Lisa. Lisa's great question because Lisa's from Sioux Falls. Lisa from Sioux Falls, and also Doug from Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, and they want to know if you're in a building you don't have time to get out because of a fire, what should you do?
Well, hopefully the family's already got a fire escape plan in place and they'll utilize that fire escape plan. But if somebody happens to be trapped on an upper level floor and they want it,
or at work or some other place,
or at work or something, and they don't have a plan or they haven't reviewed that evacuation plan, we like to have them get to a window, and if they're on a second floor of a building where they can drop something out, we always encourage the kids, if it's some kind of a toy that they have in the room, drop that out onto the ground, because when that officer arrives on scene with his truck, he's going to do a 360 around the building.
Which means you're going to go all the way around the building?
All the way around the building. We're going to try to identify things like that. If there's somebody trapped in the building, where the fire is located at, you know, our points of egress, anything like that is what we're going to identify out of that. And hopefully pick up on anybody that's trapped in the building.
And if you're by a window, we can ladder it, get to you.
That's our primary goal right then, is rescue. We'll go into a rescue mode and get the victims out of the building.
So get to a window, open that window or bust out the window, throw something out on the ground, and stay by the window so we can get to you.
And remember to stay low in the building where your breathable air is at.
And also, don't forget, one other thing is shut the door to the room you're in. That'll keep the smoke out and keep you safe. Okay, now, this is from Miles. Miles lives in Plymouth, Indiana, and he wants to know some quick techniques for how to perform search and rescue in a fire.
Well, there again.
And what are you going to take with you, too?
We're going to take our irons with us, which is the Halligan tool and a flathead axe. Most of our guys will come off the truck with that right away. That way they can use them to make forcible entry. And as like I said earlier, we'll do a 360 around the building and identify where the fire at. Well, that dictates to us which direction we're going to make our search. Or we're going to take the building construction into mind, and we can hopefully identify bedrooms, anything that might, and where the fire is located.
Small windows in the middle of the house, probably bathrooms.
Yeah, just looking at the structure, you can try to identify how the house is laid out. And your best bet is to interview the occupants that have gotten out of the building. They'll tell you where the fire was at, where there's people trapped inside the building.
So now you get up to the house.
We're gonna.
How do you do it?
If we have to force our way into the house, we'll take if the fire would be on the left-hand side of the house, we would probably make a left-hand search and try to get back into where we know the fire is located the first.
And when you say left-hand search, right-hand search, tell us, what do you mean exactly? We got firefighters watching, they're going to want to know some of those tips.
When we enter the structure, we'll predetermine whether we're making a left-hand or a right-hand search, and then that's the direction you'll always stay on the wall, and then you'll sweep out from there. And a lot of times with the flexibility of the hose line, you can cover pretty much a whole room, but you'll still stay on either the left or the right-hand wall and make your way through the structure by.
And you'll always be crawling.
Staying low.
And why do we do that?
Stay below the heat and the smoke. And
we can also tell if you're walking and you come into a hole, you're not going to know it. If you're crawling, you'll feel that hole that's burned through.
You'll feel it and sound the floor ahead of you.
Well, I hope that answered your questions. And Bob, I thank you a lot for all your help and experience, because you're a real asset to our department.
Thank you, Jim.
Got a lot of questions about ventilation, but first we got a shout out, and this shout out is from Steve. Steve is from Lucknow, Ontario, Canada, and he wants a shout out to the Lucknow Volunteer Fire Department in Ontario, Canada. Now we got all these questions. We got 4 of them, all dealing with ventilation. So Steve from Canada, we got Mike from Canton, South Dakota, Brandon from Sulphur, Louisiana, and Curtis from Alberta, Picture Butte, Alberta, Canada. And they want to know all about ventilation. Why do they see firefighters cutting holes in the roof? And the difference between positive pressure and regular pressure ventilation. But the most important one is, why do we cut holes in the roof? And I have firefighter Bo Mortensen. Bo, we've done this together before. You're going to be a regular?
Sure.
Darn it, people like you.
Yep.
I don't know why, but they do.
I don't know.
So you ready?
I guess.
Cutting holes in the roof. Why are we doing that? And what's so important about ventilation?
Well, ventilation is, we're going to coordinate with the interior fire attack for ventilation. So in order to stop the progression of fire, we need to cut it off, whether horizontally or vertically. So if we go up in the roof and you see us cutting holes, we want to stop the spread of that fire.
So what you're going to do is kind of funnel it.
We want to funnel that up so it stops there. We know where the seat of the fire is. And then also visibility is a plus anytime inside.
So we get all that smoke and heat. As soon as you punch a hole in the roof, it all escapes out.
Yep. And yeah, heat and visibility are our 2 biggest enemies. So
now you go up to do this. It's fairly dangerous when you're up on above a fire.
Yep, absolutely.
What are some of the things you have to take into consideration when you're up on a roof and all your gear and you're going to punch a hole through this roof?
Well, you obviously you want to know roughly where the seat of the fire is, so we don't want to vent directly above it, because then we could get the flames come up and burn us. So we want to try to go to the side of it as much as possible where it's still safe, and we want to make sure when we get up there we're sounding the roof to make sure it's not too spongy.
So
and
sounding is
structural.
You're taking your axe, hitting the roof, listening for the sound to make sure you're in the right spot.
Correct.
What happens if you get a spongy part of a roof? What happens? What's the potential disaster that could happen? Collapse,
especially on the new construction that we have nowadays. It's dangerous anytime I go up there, but new construction makes it even worse.
So you cut your hole in your roof. How do you determine how big of a hole to cut? Rule of thumb?
We try to go 4 by 4 roughly. Usually as safe as we can. We go as long as we can reach. Some guys that we have are 6'6". I'm 5'8", so I don't reach as far as they do. So I go as far as we can, and if we got to make the hole longer, we make it longer instead of wider.
So now you get the hole open. What's some other concerns about? Because a lot of times you pop a hole, there's not a lot of smoke coming out of that hole. Why not?
Well, when we pop the roof open, then we want to take a pike pole, and we want to shove it down, make another hole into the ceiling itself, and that's going to allow all the fire and smoke and heat to come up.
So you have to almost breach that ceiling of your bedroom or whatever's burning.
Yep. And our main concern there is making sure nobody's below us so they don't take a pike pole in the head or the back.
And that occasionally it's easy to lose tools.
Absolutely.
Any other things you think about when we do those, when you're up on a roof, concerns that you have as a firefighter?
We always have to have another means of egress in case something happens. We got to bail off. We set up multiple ladders, so we always have a way to get out.
And we always want to stay on top of those ladders.
Correct.
To distribute that way.
Absolutely.
Bo, it's been always fun working with you.
Yep.
Darn sure, he's a crowd pleaser. Everyone just loves him to death. Great, thanks, Bo.
Yeah, you bet.
Got a lot of questions about the tools that firefighters carry. And these 3 questions are the same. Jeremy from Lugoff, South Carolina, Eli from Great Neck, New York, and Josh from Chaluda, Florida. They want to know about what tools make up the irons and about Halligan tools. Now I have Phil Paskowitz. Phil's one of our new firefighters. You like it so far?
Yep, love it.
Great. Tell us about the tools that make up the irons.
Well, the irons is here. I'll have you hold that. Is the Halligan and then the flathead axe. They pair them together. It's good for forcible entry. Good for any team making an attack, just to carry with.
So as soon as you get out the truck, you're going to grab your irons.
Yep, that'll be the first tools I grab, and it's good for, like I said, forcing doors and stuff like that. And you have your Halligan for prying, and then your axe is your striking tool, and that can help you get the door open and stuff like that.
So you're going to take your Halligan, punch it in the door, and if you can't force the door open, you can have someone else take that flathead axe, further push that Halligan in, and give you a little more.
Yep, a little more leverage and stuff like that. Yep.
Now, there's other things we can use these. To use them for when you go in. You can also use them to help you search. How do you do that?
Yep, you
can take them apart.
Well, just even when you're carrying, you're going to have them in your paired up, but it's going to lengthen your search. So if you're going in a room, instead of just having your arms reach, you stick out your tools, and you can get that much further reach to search to see if you can find any victims.
Perfect.
That way.
Okay, great. Phil, we got one other question for you. You ready for this one?
Yep.
I can hold that.
All right.
You can put that other stuff down. This one is from Jonathan. Jonathan is in Roanoke, Virginia, and he wants to know what's the best equipment to carry into a fire in your turnout gear pockets.
Well, you just kind of try to put anything you could possibly use. In mine, I have a bunch.
You might have to hold your
mic. I'll have you hold my mic. Just the wedge for wedging doors. You got a pliers for anything you need inside. You got a shears for cutting anything for clothing if I'm on maybe an accident scene or anything like that. You got a screwdriver, the multi-purpose one, so you can flathead or Phillips. And then just some smaller wedges for sprinklers and stuff like that. Also in my side pockets I have safety glasses, extra set of gloves, and then over here you just got some webbing just in case for making a rescue or any other tying anything together or anything like that.
And then you always carry your flashlight with you strapped right on you?
Yep, always right on there.
Phil, you are a firefighter of action, my friend.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot for your help.
Thank you very much.
Let's get back in that training.
All right, thanks.
Thanks. We have a lot of questions that the perfect person to answer those would be the fire chief of Sioux Falls Fire Rescue. That's Don Hill. Don?
Hi, Jim.
Ready for some questions?
I am.
These are a potpourri of questions. You're supposed to say, hey, neat word. I'll just keep moving on, Don. Don't worry.
That's a good idea.
This one's from Jason. Jason lives in Blue Ridge, Virginia. And Jason wants to know, what is our ISO class rating and what factors contribute to an ISO rating?
Our insurance services office rating is a class 3 on a scale of 1 to 10.
1 being the best.
1 being the best. And it's very difficult for a city to make a class 1 rating until you have about 250,000 people. The things that go into an ISO rating are the fire department, the water distribution system, and the communication system. We are in the process of evaluating ourselves to see if we can move from a class 3 to a class 2. And information that we have says that could potentially save about $3 to $5 million in insurance premiums in a year.
So that'd be a great thing for Sioux Falls.
That would be a great thing.
And we're moving towards that now. A few things ironed out. What do you think our chances are? Not to put you on.
I'd say we're at about 50-50 right now if we're going to get to move to a class 2 or not.
Okay, easy question, softball question.
Sure.
This one's from Justin. Justin lives in Madison, Indiana. How old is Sioux Falls Fire Rescue? We had this discussion earlier, so give them both answers.
Okay. The volunteer department in this area was established in 1880, and Sioux Falls Fire Department was established as a paid department beginning in 1900.
So that's a pretty easy one to figure out.
That was easy.
This is a good question. This is from Steve. Steve lives in Center Reach, New York, and also John. John's from Paducah, Kentucky. And they want to know, what advice would you have for a new firefighter and how to make myself the best firefighter I can be and stay motivated?
The first thing that I would tell you is that you have to take responsibility for your success. The fire department is a great place to work. It's a great career. There can also be a lot of distractions. And I think it's the people who are individually motivated, keep their goals set and focused on their goals, and work every day to achieve those goals that are the people who are most successful.
And we want people to set their goals pretty high because they can attain them.
Very high.
Okay, now we're going to move on to, this one's about number of stations. This is from Ethan. Ethan lives in Lorain, Ohio, and Kara lives in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And they want to know a couple of questions about how many stations do we have, how many people ride in a truck, and also how do we decide which specialties go to what stations. So how many stations and then specialties. And I got another one on trucks.
The first question is easy. We have 10 fire stations. We have about 157,000 people in Sioux Falls. 10 fire stations. Normally we have 4 people riding on all of our trucks, on our aerial ladder trucks, on our engines, and then we also have rescue engines. And 4 people staff those at a time. And the last question was specialties.
Right. How do we determine which specialties go to what stations?
We base it by the kind of apparatus that we put at our stations. For instance, our truck companies generally specialize in hazardous materials. And so we figure out the distribution for the companies that we want to use and then assign specialties to those.
So when we have our 3 hazmats are spread equally through Sioux Falls, so they're not all bunched up in one area.
Yes, and that like our ladder trucks would be. So our ladder trucks are set up for good distribution for the city, so hazmat would also have the same.
This one's from John. John lives in T, South Dakota. Dustin lives in Greenbrook, New Jersey. Austin in Jacksonville, Florida. And Kylene in Cleveland, Missouri.
And they all have the same question?
They all have pretty much the same question.
Okay.
They want to know the rank structure at Sioux Falls Fire Rescue and what kinds of things do firefighters need to do in order to get promoted to ranks for education, that kind of thing.
Let's start with the most important position of firefighter. That's the entry-level position, but that's our firefighters do most of the really, really hard work on our department. And then you can move up to a fire apparatus operator who drives the fire trucks, operates the pumps, is responsible also as a member of a crew to make entry into a building. And then you have the station supervisors, the fire captains we call them. Some cities call them lieutenants, but they're the officer in charge of both their apparatus and in most cases a station at the same time. And then above the fire captains are battalion chiefs. We have 2 of those on duty at a time on our shifts, and then division chief and fire chief. And the things that you need to do to get promoted are mostly, we have mostly tested positions, except for the fire chief. Every other position is tested. And in order to get promoted to the next level, you must already meet all the certifications, the NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association certifications of that next level before you can test. And then it's competitive testing. And we select the candidates in order of their test scores, and we promote that way.
And we got a couple more. Now this one, a lot of people want to know about this one. This is from Logan. Logan lives in Clinton, Iowa. Wyatt from Sheldon, Iowa. Harley from Corpus Christi, Texas. And Austin from Norwood, North Carolina. And they want to know, on staffing, when we staff vehicles, how many people do we have in a station typically on a truck, and then do we vary that? And then what's our total human resource power in the fire department?
Okay, I'll start with that one first.
Okay.
We have 194 people on the department. All but about 25 of those are assigned to our shifts. They're the operations division. They respond to calls, do our commercial building surveys, do a lot of training. So 169 people are basically assigned to our operations division. And we staff that. The city of Sioux Falls, normally we have 46 people on duty during the day, and we normally have 42 people on duty at night. This is, we're one of the few departments that deliberately varies the staffing between day and night. As I mentioned before, we have 10 fire stations, and all of those stations have one 4-person company in their station, except for our main station at 9th and Minnesota. And that station during the daytime normally will have 2 apparatus there with 4 people on it, and then in the evening normally 1.
Now a lot of people think we have more fires at night, but when's our highest call volume?
Our call volume has remained fairly consistent throughout the years. We have about 62% of our calls during the daytime from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 at night, and about 38% at night. So we vary our staffing a little bit between day and night so that we can maintain the same response times and yet account for a lower call volume at night.
Perfect. And this is our last question. This is from Kate. Kate lives in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And Daniel, another Corpus Christi, Texas caller. We may well get some influx of Corpus Christi firefighters. What is the average response time for our calls? And people talk about average, but we really look at fractile times. And do you want to explain kind of both of those?
Sure. Our average response time is somewhere around 3.5 minutes, but the reason I can say somewhere around 3.5 minutes is we don't track that normally. We're more concerned with something called fractile response time, which is what is the percentage of times that you can reach a certain response time. So we use the accreditation standard because we're an accredited fire department, and we need to reach 90% of our calls in 5 minutes and 12 seconds or less in travel time. And so we gauge our response on that and our ability to meet response times on that. And right now we're at a pace of about 4 minutes and 46 seconds for 90% of the time.
So actually Fractals is a more accurate depiction of our time we get to a call rather than the average.
Right.
Okay. Well, Don, thanks for your help. I know you got a lot of things to do, and hopefully we'll keep racking up the questions for you.
All right, Jim.
Thanks.
Thanks.
I'm with Division Chief Pat Warren. Pat Warren's our Division Chief in charge of administration, and Pat has recently received the designation for Chief Fire Officer. Congratulations, Pat.
Thanks, Jim.
Now tell us, the CFO, pretty tough to get. What does that all entail, and why is it a benefit to our organization?
It's a very lengthy process that has a chief officer review and document his credentials in 20 different areas. And the Commission for Fire Accreditation International, through the Center for Public Safety Excellence, has you
Pat, very good.
has you review your education, your experience, your training, and just prove through the application process that you meet the minimum qualifications in all those areas.
And it's not just submitting it, then you get peer reviewed.
Correct.
So you have chief officers from around the country reviewing your packet. So it's quite a process.
Very much so.
Well, and it's great for you to have that because it raises the level of our chief officers to a higher degree of accountability. And I'm building you up here, Pat.
I'd say so. There's, as you said, it is such a process. There's only 722 CFOs in the world.
And how many tens of thousands of chief fire officers? That's probably quite a few.
Quite a few.
We don't know that answer. Okay, but now, this question comes from Robert in T, South Dakota, Martin in Evansville, Indiana, and Ethan in Baltimore County, Maryland. How much does the average fire truck cost? Now, let's do a engine and then a ladder.
That's the first thing I was going to point out, Jim. It depends on the type of apparatus. A fire engine will run, on average, between $300,000 and $400,000, and that's for a custom engine. Now, our ladder trucks are actually quints, which is short for quintuple, and that is actually a combination of an engine and a ladder truck.
So the ladder is a fifth component.
Correct. And those will run approximately $650,000 to $750,000.
Now, what about our platform?
Once again, with the longer ladder and the platform attached, that's a little more money, probably closer to $800,000 to $850,000.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. Now, the next question is going to go right along with that. This one's from Brian in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Scott in Norwood, New York, Dane in Westminster, Colorado, Austin in Lounsville, Ohio, and Cameron in Haslett, Texas. How long on average do fire trucks last before you replace them?
Once again, that depends somewhat on the type of truck. Engines will generally last longer than ladder trucks. They're just a higher maintenance, higher wear and tear truck, but still...
The ladder trucks are?
Right. 18 to 20 years.
Wow. So we're getting a good investment on our truck when you think of personal vehicles that you might have in a car or your pickup truck.
Well, you can't put a price on safety, but yes.
Thanks a lot.
You bet.
Got a lot of questions about how do firefighters stay in shape, and this one's from Brennan. Brennan lives in Lancaster, Wisconsin, and Brennan wants to know, what kind of things do firefighters do to stay in such great shape? With me, I have our very own Captain Steve Fessler.
Thank you.
And you're on what list?
Battalion chief list.
Hopefully you can be promoted to battalion chief. So tell us, you got your crew working out here. You don't have to introduce them.
Okay.
But what kind of things does your crew do when they're downtime or trying to work out?
Well, our department, we have a mandatory PT time during the day, in which case they want us working out to keep physically fit. It's a demanding job that we have, and we need to be able to get out there and do what we need to do. And we like to do, our crew down here, we like to do a lot of strength training together and a lot of circuit training. Work on the cardiovascular end of it. So that
Why is cardiovascular so important to firefighters?
Well, biggest reason is heart attacks are one of the biggest causes of firefighter deaths.
Number one killer of firefighters is cardiovascular disease, heart attacks.
Yep. So, you know, that's kind of some of our big goals here in Sioux Falls is to keep all of our firefighters physically fit, good shape, ready to go at all times, and to help them in the long term so that, you know, when the day comes that they retire from here, they're still in good physical shape and able to enjoy retirement too.
Now, all our stations have almost some of the best physical fitness equipment you can get. But when you're doing your circuit training, what kind of things do you do for circuit training? And explain to someone who might not know, who might have some firefighters out there that aren't aware of circuit training. What is circuit training?
Well, you can have different types of things that we like to set up. Is we'll have the stair stepper, which is going behind me.
And who's on the stair stepper, by the way?
That's our new firefighter, Phil Paskowitz.
Phil, hey, how you doing? Okay. In case he doesn't get enough camera time.
Yep, exactly. And then we've got treadmill, stair stepper, and we also do work on the box where we do 90 beats per minute going up and down on a box.
And the box is 16 inches tall, in case people want to know.
Yep.
And then for weight training, are you doing a rotation then of aerobic and then strength?
We kind of switch off and on. We like to try to do our strength training first during the day and then into the aerobic training after that. Our other firefighter, Mortensen, he kind of wrangles us into what we need to do and gets our plans together for the day and tells us what we're going to work on. So.
And the last component of this, because we've talked about this earlier today, is diet. It's not just exercise, it's also diet. So do you do anything different with your diets?
Well,
you're a pretty fit crew here.
We try to eat healthy, you know. We try to stay away from the deep fried food and things like that, and try to on a regular basis, you know, eat the salads, eat the good proteins, the healthy stuff.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot. What did you have for lunch?
What did we have for lunch today?
Because I remember, because I could smell it next door.
We had a shredded buffalo chicken sandwiches.
And I know something.
And salad.
And salad.
Yep.
Okay, well, Steve, thanks a lot for your help. And you got to keep these guys in shape and don't let up on Phil.
No, we got to keep on top of him all the time.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you like this show. If you got questions or want to know more about Sioux Falls Fire Rescue, go to our website, www.siouxfalls.org/fire, and you can get all that information, especially if you're thinking about being a firefighter. Now, I've got 2 last shout-outs. For the shirt, here's the shout-outs. This one's from Jenna. Jenna wants a shout-out to the Chamberlain Volunteer Fire Department in Chamberlain, South Dakota. And finally, last but not least, Stephen. Stephen is one of our Canadian watchers, and he wants a shout-out to the Brampton Fire and Emergency Services in Brampton, Canada. So I'm glad you're watching the show. Don't forget, we're on just about every month, and we try to get those shout-outs and questions answered. My name is Division Chief Jim Sedaris. You've been watching Fire Call.